Welcome back to the I'm Moving to Italy podcast. This is Nathan Heinrich, and this is episode 2. A lot has happened since that first episode that I recorded in New York. And even though I only released it last week, I actually recorded it 2 months ago. So since then, I have moved to Italy, and I am recording this from my living room here in northern Italy. It's been a very interesting 2 months. Before I get into the episode, I just wanted to say to you who are listening, thank you. I have been overwhelmed by the feedback that I've gotten with just that first episode that we released, and I can't tell you how grateful and happy I am that you're here and listening. Just this morning, I was looking at the analytics from the podcast, and I cannot believe, but we have people listening from 6 different countries. You are from Canada, you are from the United Kingdom, you are from Italy, you are from Portugal, you are from Kuwait. I was very excited about Kuwait. I'm excited about everywhere, but Kuwait, you may not be the biggest country in the world, but I see you, and I'm really glad you're here. I'm glad you're all here. Of course, the United States, we have listeners. So Canada, Italy, Portugal, Kuwait, United Kingdom, welcome everyone. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for coming back. So something that I'm going to add at the end of this episode, it's something I want to do every week. It's a little segment I'm going to call Surrounding Sounds. And what it is it's going to be, while I'm out filming, I'm also capturing the audio and the sounds on my microphone for my camera. And I specifically got a really high quality microphone, so I'm picking up some really good quality sound. And what I want to do is at the end of every episode, right before I say goodbye, I want to play a little segment called Surrounding Sounds, and it's basically just what I've picked up in my recording, a little bit what my week has sounded like. So this week I have some really fun. I have 10 different clips of different things that I recorded this week that I want to share with you. So it'll only take a few minutes at the end of the recording, but anyway, I just wanted to let you know that that's coming, so stay tuned for that. All right, so here we go. Episode 2, my first month in Italy. So, after I recorded that episode, and after you have last heard me, here's what's happened. I sold the house that same week, and that was kind of the beginning, the middle, actually, of November. So after that, we went back down to Tennessee, where we had our place rented down there, and kind of started the process of beginning to pack up and get things ready so that we could move here to Italy, getting storage units and getting the cars in parking garages and so on and so forth. Anyway, after that, I made a 2-week trip to California by myself. I wanted to kind of say goodbye to my family, kind of a farewell. I'm moving even further away, so I wanted to do that. Also, my parents have been renovating their home. I've been kind of helping out with that project, with some of on the design end. And so they were ready to move in. And so my mom wanted me to come and help her kind of get moved in, select some furniture, some art for the house, some paintings, and just in general kind of help them with that. So anyway, yeah, I flew to California for a couple of weeks. I stayed with my grandmother. I call her Gram. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world. Her and I are pretty tight, and she's 83 years old, and she is just one of the most incredible human beings. She's been through a lot in her life, and she is a real survivor. She's a warrior. She's a strong woman, but she's a lot of fun, and she's a real friend of mine, and her and I got to spend some real quality time because I stayed with her the whole time I was in California. She just lives on the other side of town, kind of out in the country, in a little place called Dusty Lane. and she built a beautiful house out there. So she lives alone. And so I was able to stay with her. We played cards every afternoon, around 5. She has her vodka tonic. So, we would play cards, we play canasta, some vodka tonics, and listen to music and just talk and visit. She's got a beautiful garden. So we're always, gardening and stuff. And anyway, it was just a wonderful time with my grandmother. I cherish every one of those memories that I have with her. It was also a really wonderful time with my parents, my brothers and my sisters. My mom and I got to go do a really wonderful drive up to Sacramento to get some art. We were able to get some paintings from some local California painters that are some vintage art that we were able to buy. And my mom and I had a really great time. She had just bought a new truck she was really excited about. So we got to ride in her new truck up to Sacramento. That was a lot of fun. We didn't completely finish the project on the house, but I'm planning to go back in a few months and we'll get it. If it's not already done, we'll finish it up then. Anyway, that was a really special time. I was able to have some great conversations, and even though I wasn't able to spend as much time with all my brothers and sisters as I had wanted to, and I wasn't able to really see my friends because I was kind of, trying to not be too social because of the pandemic, and I didn't want to bring anything, to anyone in my family. So pretty much just stayed at my grandmother's house and went over to my parents' house. And so that's where I saw, my parents' house is kind of a revolving door. Their ranch is kind of like Grand Central. So there's always a lot of activity of brothers and sisters coming and going. And now, of course, a lot of nieces and nephews, my parents, their grandchildren. But so I got to see nieces and nephews. I got to see everybody, and I didn't get to see all my sister-in-laws, but anyway, I got to see most everybody, and I'll be back soon. Anyway, so that was wonderful. After, for about 10 days working on the project with the house, my grandmother and I went over to her house that she has on the coast, and she has a house on Monterey Bay, right in a little tiny town called Aptos. And so we were able to go spend the last 5 days of the trip over there together. And we built fires every day, and it was kind of rainy and foggy, but just to be able to be on the beach, that beach that I grew up on, and it was just really, really special. So California was wonderful, super grateful. After California, I flew back to Tennessee. I didn't give myself very much time. I literally gave myself 24 hours. So flew to Tennessee, and then 24 hours later, we were all packed up, moved out of our rental that we had rented from our good friends, Judy and Phil, down there. We rented a carriage house right on Market Street and in Chattanooga. And so we were able to move out, and we had a rental car, so we drove to the airport. We get there, we've got all of our paperwork. Alessandro's done all his research and made sure he's got all the documentation that we need for traveling, because he can travel right now to Italy. The issue is me. I'm the one who doesn't have, a visa, or I don't need a visa, but I'm the one who doesn't have a passport, an Italian passport. And so Americans aren't allowed to fly into Italy under normal circumstances at this point. So anyway, so we get to the airport, we take our bags to the counter, drop the rental car off, and the woman at the counter, who was a very nice woman, she says, "Oh man, you guys, I don't know. These papers are in Italian that you have, and I don't know if you have the right documentation." She was very worried. She's like, "I think that when you get to Atlanta, which was our next connecting airport, and then maybe even when you get onto, we had to go from Atlanta to Amsterdam," she was like, "and you might get turned away. You might have to fly back here. And there's nothing I could do about that. So I want to make sure you have the right paperwork." So of course we start kind of panicking. At least I did. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, we have all our bags with us. Our cars are all parked in parking garages. All of our stuff is in storage. We don't have anywhere to stay. So if we can't get on this plane, what are we going to do? So I was pretty panicked. So Alessandro jumps on the phone. He calls someone over at the consulate. Luckily, he was able to get someone on the phone. Meanwhile, we're already cutting it pretty close with our flight. So our flight is like, we're already getting close to missing this flight. Finally, after begging and just saying, listen, just let us get to Atlanta. We'll handle things there, but we just don't want to miss this flight. Because if we miss this flight, then we're going to be missing all of our other flights. So she said, okay, I'm just going to let you go. I don't feel good about this. I'm worried about you guys, but we're going to let's just give it a try. So she lets us on the flight. We barely make it onto the flight. While we're sitting still on the at the airport before we take off, I make a quick phone call to my good friend, who's also my real estate agent, Jen Gregory, in Tennessee. And by the way, here's a quick plug. If anyone is looking to buy property in Georgia or Tennessee, I've got the best real estate agent for you. So my friend Jen, who's a real estate agent, she is still at her office. I call her up. I'm like, Jen, we're on our way to Atlanta and we need one document. Apparently we need an additional self-declaration document, but in English. And is there any way that you could print that out, fill out, here, I'll give you all my information, fill it out, and then scan it and email it to me? She's like, absolutely, I got it. And by the time we landed in Atlanta 30 minutes later, we had that document that Jen had sent over to us. Thank God, because I don't know if we would have been able to make it on this trip without her doing that. So anyway, she's a lifesaver. Thank you, Jen. So we get to Atlanta. We go to the international terminal. We go to the KLM because we were flying into Amsterdam. So we're flying KLM, which is a wonderful airline. And we get up to the counter at KLM for that flight, and they say, oh, you don't have a negative COVID test with you. Well, you can't get on this flight. Now, we had already been told that we didn't need a COVID test prior to flying to Italy. But apparently there were some different rules for Amsterdam. And so again, we panic. And I tell Alessandro, listen, you're getting on this flight and you're flying to Italy today with or without me. And of course he's saying he's not doing that. He refuses. He's staying with me. No matter what happens, we're staying together. And we're just in panic mode. It's funny looking back on it now, but there was not a single funny thing about it in that moment. Anyway, and any of you who have had issues with flights and trying to get in or out of a country, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. That is not a good feeling because your future, the outcome of your situation is in the hands of others. Let's put it that way. So anyway, I ask again, I'm kind of trying to negotiate or plead with these people behind the counter who are so busy. They're just trying to get all these people on this plane. There's forms flying everywhere. There's papers. Everyone's stressed, trying to prove that they've got the right documentation. And I finally had enough of a person's attention that I said, listen, we are not getting out of the airport. Our final destination is not Amsterdam. We're flying to Italy. So thank goodness I had that thought to make that distinction, because they said, oh, well, if you're not actually flying to Amsterdam as your final destination, then that's okay, because Italy, you're right. Italy doesn't have a requirement to have a COVID test prior to getting there. You're supposed to get COVID tested once you get there, which is what we had planned to do. So anyway, we were allowed on that flight. I have never been so sweaty, so stressed, so totally happy and grateful to be sitting on an airplane before in my life. So we're on this flight. It's actually quite a full flight, surprisingly enough. And at that point I was like, as long as we get into Europe, I'm sure we can figure out a solution. But it was just that, that major jump over the ocean to be able to get just onto European soil. I'm like, once we get there, we can figure it out. Of course, once we got to Amsterdam, we had no problems. Amsterdam was the easiest airport. We just had a short layover. We flew into, a few hours later, we flew into the Venice airport in Italy. And man, what an incredible feeling it was to be back here in Italy and to have gone through all that. We were flying and traveling for almost a full day because of all the layovers and everything. It all added up. And so by the time we got to Italy, it was about noon. And so we were really tired. We got a taxi and we took the taxi into the town here where we're staying and where Alessandro's family lives, which is, like I said before, in the Prosecco Valley. We're in the Veneto region of northern Italy. And regions in Italy are like states in the United States. So, and right now you can't travel from region to region. So you just have to stay in the region that you're in. I think that it's so. I don't know what would have happened if we had tried to fly into one region and then travel into another. I don't know if we would have been able to do that. But luckily, we flew into Veneto, which is the Venice region, which is the region that we're staying in. So we took a 30-minute taxi ride into the town here, which is Coniano. And it's spelled Conegliano. It looks like it's Congliano, but it's pronounced Coniano. And we are surrounded by the Prosecco Hills and the Dolomiti Mountains and the Italian Alps. And the Alps have snow on them, and it is just a really beautiful time to be here. 2 days after we got here, it snowed, and so everything was white. It doesn't snow that often here, but a couple times a year it can snow here in this village. And so anyway, we got moved into our villa here. We're staying in a really cute little yellow villa. I'll share some pictures of the yellow villa on Instagram. And so we got moved in. We kind of got settled. We had to quarantine and get tested for COVID, but we had to quarantine for 2 weeks when we got here. So everything was clear. We didn't have COVID. We're fine. So I was looking for a Christmas tree, and all the Christmas trees were completely sold out. So unlike the United States, which always has an abundance of Christmas trees, cut Christmas trees right up until Christmas Eve, we didn't have that here. So we had to figure out some other solution. And luckily, Alessandro found a local nursery, a wholesale nursery that doesn't even sell to the public. But I used to work in wholesale nurseries, and so we stopped in and just talked to the owner. He was a very nice man. He said, absolutely, go ahead and look through the nursery. We walked through. I found a whole section, a whole greenhouse filled with citrus trees. And out of all the citrus trees, one of the most beautiful ones, even though it wasn't shaped like a Christmas tree, was a kumquat tree, and it was loaded with kumquats. And if any of you don't know what kumquats are, they're a little miniature citrus that are orange, and they're kind of an oblong shape, and they're kind of like the shape of a little tiny Roma tomato or a little fingerling potato, but smaller, about the size of a thumb. And you eat them with the whole skin. You pop them in your mouth, skin, peel and all, because the peel kind of neutralizes the strong acidity of the fruit and the flesh inside. Anyway, I was super excited to get a kumquat tree. I'm also going to post some pictures of that on Instagram for you as well. But so that was our Christmas tree. Anyway, so a few days after Christmas, I start feeling sick. And I get a fever, and I kind of just feel achy for a couple days. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stay home, not going to go out, not going to see anybody. I'm sure it's just something I got, from traveling, no big deal. Well, by New Year's Eve, I had lost my sense of taste and smell completely. The fever had gone away, the body aches had gone away, and so anyway, I had COVID. So that was kind of crazy. So another 2 weeks of quarantine. So out of the month and a half that we've been here in Italy, we have been quarantined for 1 full month of that time. So I haven't really done a lot. We haven't done all the, we haven't gone in. And plus it's been the holidays, Christmas and New Year's. And Italy really does close down here from before Christmas until the 6th of January. So most businesses are closed except for, real essential businesses, but everything's closed down. People spend time with their family, which I think is really great. So even if we hadn't been in quarantine, things were kind of closed down anyway, partly for the lockdowns for the pandemic, but also partly for the holidays. So I've been doing a lot of reading at home. I've been watching a lot of Italian TV. I've been studying Italian. I've been writing, and I have been cooking. We have been cooking. So there's been a lot of stuff happening at home. I've noticed a change. By the way, just to finish up the COVID situation, I'm good now. Got a negative test. Everything is totally fine. I'm feeling great. My sense of smell and taste are almost back to normal. Not 100%, but close. Anyway, so I just wanted to finish that off. Alessandro never got COVID. Nobody else in the family got COVID. Thank God I didn't pass it along to anyone else. I have no idea where I got it, but I got over it. Nobody else got it. I was super grateful for that. I was praying really hard because that would have made me feel really bad if somebody else had gotten it. Anyway, so we're good there. So even though I haven't been able to be out and about a whole lot, during this month and a half, this first month and a half here, I've definitely been practicing my Italian with Alessandro. I've been watching, like I said, a lot of Italian TV, and I've been using my Italian language program that I'm using to learn Italian. All of that combined is definitely making a big difference, and I have noticed a change. I've noticed a change in my ability to be able to speak and to comprehend, which is really exciting. So one thing I noticed is recently I went to get a haircut, and usually my greatest fear and panic here is not to be able to either answer a question that someone asks of me, or for me to be able to ask a question. I found that answering and asking questions are really what it's all about learning a new language. And so if Alessandro is with me, I'm always super confident. But if he's not, and I don't know specifically what I want, or I might need some help, and he leaves or he's not with me, it's a little panic situation. So we went to get our haircut. He came with me. Well, actually, I was the only one getting my haircut. He was going to go run some other errands. But I didn't know that. I thought he was going to stay with me. So we get into this little salon where they're going to cut the hair, one of the salons that was open in town. And this nice little Chinese woman comes over, and Alessandro talks to her, and he tells her what kind of a haircut I want, and he explains to her that I'm from the United States, and I'm still learning Italian. And anyway, and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna run down the street and run a couple errands and go to a couple shops, and I'm wearing my mask, and I wanted to say, please don't leave me here, but sure enough, he left, and so I didn't want to. What could I do, right? So I'm smiling through my mask to this lovely Chinese girl who's cutting my hair, and I'm thinking to myself, just please don't ask me any questions, because I'm not going to be able to answer you, and about the only thing I can use to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't speak English, is this phrase, which is scusi, io americano, no parlo italiano, which is, I know I'm not even saying that correctly, but that's basically saying, I'm an American, please forgive me, I don't speak English. So anyway, sure enough, she starts speaking to me in Italian. which is, by the way, a very unusual thing to see a Chinese person speaking with an Italian accent. That is a very interesting experience, but it's actually quite cool. And so, even though I was panicked, what I found is I speak more Italian, and I certainly comprehend a lot of Italian, but I can speak more Italian, even though I don't speak it well. I can speak more than I give myself credit for. And so she starts speaking to me, and within a few minutes, I'm completely at ease. We're kind of stumbling and fumbling our way through, at least I am, and she's being very kind and understanding, and I learned that she's living in Italy by herself. Her family is not there. I made the mistake and I kind of made a faux pas and asked her if the man that was working, the Chinese man that was working there, was her husband. And she got, she kind of got all embarrassed and blushed. She blushed and said, I don't have a husband. And I was like, oh, geez, Nathan, lovely. But anyway, we made it past that moment. And so, her name's Lena. And I'm sure that's not her real name, but I'm sure that's the name that she's using for people in Italy so that they can actually pronounce her name. And so we just kind of had this lovely little exchange while she cut my hair. Gave me one of the best haircuts I've ever had in my life. She's the best. And she just said something really sweet to me that actually several people here have said to me so far, which they just say, oh, piano, 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 which basically means slowly, slowly. It's okay. Just keep practicing, and piano, piano. You're gonna slowly, slowly learn. Just give yourself, time to slowly learn the language. It's gonna be okay. Just practice. So that's been nice. Everyone from Alessandro's family to other people that I've met have said that same thing to me. So that's been very nice. So anyway, one of the few times that I went to the grocery store here by myself, I was actually like, okay, I'm going to go to the grocery store. I love to shop. I love to cook. So I'm going to go to the grocery store. I had just bought a new blender to make fruit and veggie smoothies. And so I'm like, I'm going to go get some fresh produce and some eggs. And I know how to say eggs. And so I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to, I'm going to feel empowered. So I walk into the store wearing my scarf over my mouth for my mask, and the security guard and this group of 3 people inside the store that are employees, they all start kind of speaking loudly to me in Italian, like, Signor, basically telling me my mask is not adequate. I need a surgical mask. And then, of course, I go immediately to my, mi scusi, io americano, no parlo italiano. And then they start speaking to me, you need a different mask. We will give you. And so this girl comes around the counter with a mask, a surgical mask in a package. She opens it up. And he goes, he's the man, one of the men behind the counter saying, she speak very good English. She will give you the mask. So anyway, she's trying to give me the mask. She's handing it to me in the package, so I just take it out of the package. I don't have to have our hands touch. So I take it out of the package, and I promptly rip the ear loops right off of the mask. And everybody's still standing there watching me, and their hands all go up in the air. Ay, Dio mio, americano. I couldn't even put a mask on, so they had to get me a second mask. I very carefully... And I swear it has never felt like it's taken me so long. I mean, we've all put masks on so many times, right? Taken masks off and put them on so many times over the last year. I'm thinking, this is the longest it has never taken me so long to put on a mask. And granted, this one was a little bit of a different configuration. You had to carefully open up these ear loops before you put them on. But so anyway, I finally get the mask on, and I get this, everybody's kind of like clapping and saying, bravo, bravo. And it was just embarrassing. But I was just like, oh man, they must just think I am the biggest moron in the world. So anyway, I go about my shopping. All of this wonderful produce, it's all fresh and it's beautiful and it's anyway, I'm just collecting kiwis and citrus and bananas and berries and and fresh, lettuce and kale and carrots and celery, all this stuff I'm going to put in these smoothies. I get just bags and bags and bags of produce. And they have a system in Italy where you weigh your produce and then the scale, and you put in the number that's associated with that item in the bin that you got it out of, and then it spits out the machine gives you a little label, you put that on the bag, and then when you get up to the front counter, everything is really easy for the person that's behind the register to just scan those barcodes from that label that you printed out. Well, in my whatever, my confusion, my disorientedness from the mask incident, I completely forgot to get labels for any of my produce. None of it. I probably had 11 items of produce. I'm proud of myself. I even asked someone where the eggs were, and they directed me. And so I'm very proud of myself. I'm pushing my cart through an Italian supermarket. And by the way, try to find a bottle of wine in an Italian supermarket that's more than €7. Most of the bottles of wine there are like €2, €3, some are even €1 for a bottle of wine. I mean, good Italian wine. And so we've been to the grocery store a bunch of times. I'm used to spending well over $100, sometimes $200 or more at a grocery store in the United States. I have not been able to, no matter how full I get my cart, I haven't been able to get over an order over €40 worth so the food here is a lot cheaper. I think it's higher quality than most, the things you can get in an Italian grocery store. I mean, in an American grocery store, but whatever. Anyway, so I've just been kind of blown away at how cheap it is to go grocery shopping here, which is kind of great. Anyway, I get up to the counter to check out, and the woman starts unloading, going through my bags, and realizes none of my bags have labels on them. And I turn bright red with embarrassment, and I tried, I started saying, mi scusi, io americano, and she just rolls her eyes and then sends someone else to take all my bags over there, type in the numbers and get the labels and bring them back. Meanwhile, other people are in line waiting, looking at me, staring at me, and I'm feeling like a complete loser. But anyway, so that's how it's been going here. I've had some wins and I've had some loses, but that's just the way it's going to go. So anyway, what are you going to do? But so far, I am so happy to be here. In spite of the fact that, we've been in quarantine and all this stuff, I've been really, really excited to spend time here. I've been ordering camera equipment online because I'm kind of starting to film, and I'm working on getting to the point where I can upload some really great videos to YouTube. And so I've been doing that. I've been walking around the city, filming, like I said, and it's very walkable. It's very beautiful here. The downtown is really, really, really pretty. And even though a lot of businesses aren't open at the moment, which is kind of sad because of the pandemic, it's still really, really beautiful. Another thing that I did the other day was I watched a documentary in Italian about the life of Leonardo da Vinci, who I've always known he was an incredible person, but now I'm so impressed by his life, and he's such an interesting character, and he was so much more than just a painter. Most of us know him as a famous painter that painted the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, but he did so much more. And so I'm reading a book, Walter Isaacson's book about Leonardo da Vinci, because of that Italian documentary on him that I watched. But there's also some really interesting Italian TV that I've been watching. I can't believe it, but I'm actually starting to really like some Italian shows here. There's 2 shows that I'm really loving. One of them is called, I'm sure I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but it's called Che Posta per te, which basically means there's mail for you, or you've got mail. And it's this thing where someone sends a letter via this carrier from this show, and they deliver a letter to this person, and it's someone that they maybe used to be in love with, but they wanted to reconnect with, or someone that they have conflict in the family with, a sister or a brother or a parent, and they want to try to resolve, and so, or a spouse that cheated, and they're trying to beg their spouse to let them back. Anyway, so that's a show that goes on for 3 hours every Saturday, starting at 9 o'clock in the evening until midnight. The shows here are a little different because, unlike the United States, we get one episode, and that episode is usually an hour long, and then it's on to the next show. Well, here, their shows are like 3 hours long. That's I don't know if that's one episode that's 3 hours long or it's whatever, but anyway, it's 3 hours. So we watched Che possa per te for 3 hours on Saturday nights, so that's really fun. And there's this other show that comes on that's called Made in Italy, and it's about the process in the 1970s of kind of branding Italian-made products as really luxury, well-designed products. Everybody, no matter where you are in the world, I think we all have this perception, and rightfully so, that Italian products, whether it's clothing or shoes or food or wine or whatever comes from Italy, is high quality. And so, but that was something that was a very specific strategic kind of marketing campaign that this particular show, which I'm sure eventually this show will be on Netflix or Amazon Prime or some of the other streaming services. Maybe it'll be dubbed into English, or maybe it'll be subtitled. I don't know, but it's a great show, and it's about the fashion industry in the 1970s that's kind of being transformed and really bringing people like, Versace and Valentino onto the world stage and really promoting their products. And it's about this, it's a little bit like The Devil's Wears Prada, a little bit like that. It follows a young girl who's working as an intern and kind of rising in this company during this time. But that's a great show that I've been watching. So yeah, it's been kind of amazing to watch Italian TV, and I've noticed that it's really, I'm able to pick up so much more of what they're saying, and it's kind of incredible. It's happening so slowly that I have moments where I catch it, but sometimes I just naturally I catch myself realizing, wow, you're following this, you know exactly what they're saying. That's really amazing. So that's been kind of cool. I think that's probably about it for this episode. I want to go to my new segment that I was really excited to tell you guys about, called the Surrounding Sounds segment. So I want to do that next. But before I do that, I just want to really quickly thank a handful of people who reached out in really special ways and let me know. These are all people that I shared my podcast with in my life, friends and family. And I just wanted to say a quick thank you to you, because after I uploaded that last episode, I was feeling kind of discouraged about it, to be honest. And I didn't think that it was the quality that I had really wanted it to be. And so I got some messages from you, some of you people, and I just want to, by name, thank you. So I want to thank Sue and Gina and John and Jean and Susan and Jen and Judy, David, Graham, Hillary, and Dee. All of you reached out to me with such kind, encouraging words, and I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. I wanted to do that before I forgot. So now, what you're going to hear now is, let me turn to my page here to make sure I can tell you what it is that you're going to be hearing in these surrounding sounds. So again, these are things that I've captured as I've been walking around the city filming. So you're going to hear first some birds singing as I'm walking along the canal. And then you're going to hear rain falling on the cobblestone streets while I walk through the Friday market. The town turns into kind of an open air outdoor market on Fridays. This last week, it was raining. They still had the market, so you can hear the rain falling on the cobblestone streets, and you can hear the vendors and the different people shopping. And the next thing you're going to hear is a dog barking as I'm walking along the canal. The canal kind of winds through the city, and so you hear a dog barking next to a waterfall. Then you're going to hear a train pulling into the local station. And then you're going to hear me walking through a park on a gravel path. And then I walk up to a little stream with some ducks in it. And then you're going to hear a bell chime at the half hour at 5:30 in the downtown, the old downtown, which is over 1,000 years old, probably closer to 1,500 years old. You're going to hear the bell chime on the half hour. Then you're going to hear a mother and a grandmother with a little child. And then you're going to hear the main intersection of the city, which is where there's a big fountain called Neptune's Fountain. And you're going to hear the traffic. And then you're going to hear an Italian ambulance go by, which sounds very different. You'll notice from our ambulances in the United States, and probably from wherever you are as well. And then the final thing you're going to hear is me watching the documentary on Leonardo da Vinci. So you get to hear what it's like for me to listen to Italian TV. Anyway, I'm going to play those for you, and then I'm going to come back and say goodbye. So enjoy.
di Santa Maria del Fiore progettata dal grande Brunelleschi, un'opera imponente, pensate 50 metri di diametro, tonnellate e tonnellate di peso, un'impresa incredibile per i mezzi e le conoscenze tecniche dell'epoca.
I hope that you enjoyed that little audio tour of the city here in northern Italy. So before I go, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to episode 2 of I'm Moving to Italy. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for listening from all the faraway places that you're listening from. So there's a very specific Instagram page that I've set up just for this podcast, and it's just I'm Moving to Italy. just that, all put together. And so if you just type in I'm moving to Italy into Instagram, you can request to follow me. I will accept your request, and then you can actually watch a video of all the things every week, of the sounds that I am recording of the city or wherever I happen to be. I'm going to upload a video of those exact places so you can see how close what you imagined from listening to those sounds was to what actually happened. So anyway, check out the Instagram page. I also have a personal Instagram page, which is just Nathan Heinrich on Instagram, so you can follow me on either one of those. Thank you again so much. I hope you guys have an amazing week. Stay healthy, stay well. I am so happy that I'm able to share this 50 minutes or so, 40 to 50 minutes with you each week. So I look forward to being here again with you next week. Take care. God bless. Ciao.